Hello and welcome. Today we're going to quilt this Lone Star top, combining a variety of techniques including guides, rulers, and beautiful freehand feather work. And we'll take a look at some of the seamly services that professional quilters can offer. Plus, we have special guests to share some great time-saving tips and tools. So stay tuned. Linda's Longarm Quilting is aired free to you by Gamble Quilting Systems Vision 2. Innovation taken to the next level. My stitch, my vision, my Gamble. If you're a longarm quilter, you know that there are a variety of services you can offer beyond simply quilting. People will come to you with quilt tops looking for your best professional help and shortcuts. Customers often want to spend their time concentrating on the creative parts and will ask you for help with what they consider to be the tedious parts. A good example of this is seaming the backing fabric. You may have customers bring you a quilt top and some fabric for the back. Here's what I recommend. Longarm quilters should charge for seaming the backing fabric, and they should tell their customers this up front. Ask your customer, do they want one seam or two, and charge per each seam. Maybe they'll do their own seaming next time. Remember to trim off any selvage before you start. Although we center the main panel when seaming comforters and bedspreads, you don't have to center the main panel for quilts. Simply stitch down the middle. Most quilters would prefer to have the extra fabric left over. Use tiny little zigzag stitches to allow for a little bit of give in the seam. As you seam, watch your tension. If you have poor tension, you'll get a seam that's not secure or one that comes apart. Speaking of seam quality, a good longarm quilter should always check the seams of the quilt top when it comes in. Make sure you look over the quilt carefully. Sometimes you can't find weak spots until it's on the quilting machine. If this happens, you can tuck the problem area under or repair it in some other way. If there are problems with the quilt top seams, there should be an additional charge to repair them. Remember that professional quilting can include services like these. Your best customers will depend on your expertise, look to you for help, and appreciate the final product. I want to show you the corner that I've completed on this Lone Star quilt. It's right here, and we have a little feathered half circle coming off of the side of this Lone Star, and I think that it's really pretty with this hot pink thread, so I want to show you how I did that. I have begun to stitch in the ditch on this curve, and I'm using a curved arch guide, and that's a little better than my straight ruler for the curve because I can adjust it as it goes to this curve. And when you stitch in a ditch, you want to be on the down side of the seam. That means if it's pressed one direction, which normally it is, you will stay on the underside where the seams are not pressed. So I'll stitch this right over into the corner like that. Now I'm going to switch to my straight guide, and I would begin by stitching in the ditch on all of these half triangles. Now I'm going to come down here and I'll show you the design that I did in between each one of these. I followed this seam over like this, and then using my ruler came up like that, down, followed in the seam again to kind of hide the stitches, up and down, across the seam like that, up and down, and then very carefully just moved over into the next one. And so I did that on all of those. Then I'm going to just move over here now, and these would all need to be stitched. Now since I moved over there, I'm going to have to take some tiny little stitches here to secure my line so it wouldn't come out if it was washed. And I will stitch on the lines that I have, coming all the way down like that, and then back up right on the lines that I have marked. I wanted to do some kind of a design in there, so I did just a plain patterned meandering, and this is a very easy design to do. There aren't any points on it. You just go from side to side like this, keep your spacing in between each of those patterns as even as you can. Of course, it's going to get tinier as I get down toward the bottom, like that. And when you get all the way down there, then you can start coming up the other side. So you do everything you can in the most continuous line without stopping and starting as much as possible. And that just makes a cleaner quilt. You don't have to stop and worry about connecting your threads or worry about your threads coming loose at all. So you can see you can do that fan design so quickly, and really with one stop and start you can do the entire thing. So I'll stop right there, and while we're at this point, I'm going to cut my thread there. And this section of the star, I have done the entire star with a continuous curve, but I wanted you to see how fast and easy it is to do that on a lone star. So I'll secure my stitches here again, this one single stitch function, and do a little half of a circle. It's just a little bit of an arch. It's about a foot width out from the seam. And the same thing here, and then back and over. And I cross to the intersection and back up, cross to the intersection and back up. And you can see that there might be a little bit of extra fullness in the star, because when I stabilized the quilt, I made sure that the edges of my star and my squares were all square. And so if there's any extra fullness inside, I can take that up with the quilting. Almost finished there. And then we'll be ready to do our freehand design. There we go, last seam. Now, for the beautiful medallion that I did in this section, I really wanted a perfect heart here. So I'm just eyeballing this, but you could certainly measure to make sure that you were in the middle. A lot of times I think we just don't trust ourselves enough to know that we can just look at something and know we're in the middle. So I'm going to put this heart right here, and I have an extended base on, so I have a nice flat surface under this. And watch this, I'm just going to go around the heart, into the middle like that, over like this, and down the other side like that. And that makes my perfect heart design. And then in the middle of that, we're going to go ahead and feather that. Round and follow the edge of the heart, round, follow. Just kind of drip that down in the middle, round and follow the edge, round and follow. If you draw this a few times on paper, you won't have any trouble doing that heart. And I can see on the other side that I actually did some stippling inside of that. And so to do that, you want to go all the way around those feathers and stay very, very close to them. Stipple to outline. And I won't complete this whole area, but I want to show you that I would have gone all the way around the feather design, and then you can come back out in the middle like that. Now I'll come out over here, and I did kind of a leaf design instead of a rounded feather. And I did some stems in the middle like this. And now I'm going to come out, just kind of arching up like this, and over here like this, into a point to make more of a leaf design than a feather design. Now I'll go into manual so I can do that a little more quickly. Point and down. And put in a stem. Point and down, and a stem. Point and down, and a stem. You can see what's happening here. I'm getting this beautiful medallion out here on in the corner. And my left hand can be down here helping to work that fabric, because I know there is some extra, little bit of extra fabric in there. You know, fabric is stretchy too, and so as you're working with it, you just make it go where you want it to go. And I put a little curl in there, and I'm going to put a little curl over here by the heart. It's good to become familiar with all the things on your quilting machine. You know, every feature that you can use, you should use. It's a tool for you to use it. And then, of course, we can come out and echo that, and you can see what I've done on the other side. So you can see how pretty you can make that. Now what I want to do is roll up to the middle of the star, because I didn't just do continuous curve on the whole thing. I did a little bit different in the middle, so I'm going to roll up to the middle of the star. I wanted something very dramatic in the middle of this quilt, and so I've kind of invented a new little curly feather. I'm starting in the middle of the quilt, and I'm going to come right up with my line through the middle of this star, like this. And then I'm going to start a curl over here and another curl almost on top of it. It's just one curl after another on top of the last one. So it really puts in a lot of stitching there. And you can fill in right at the very end of that, like that. And then I'll just continue to come down, putting these curls on top of each other. And what the effect that you get is a very swirly, curly look, which I absolutely love. And do the other side. At the top, it almost looks like you're doing hearts. They're out in here. So you don't have to worry about going over what you've already done, because that's exactly the effect that you want. This is so fun, and it's very relaxing. Staying within my little star here, like that, and then I would just have one more there to complete. I just love that design, and it made a very, very dramatic middle to this star. Now the other thing that it did was, because and usually this happens with Lone Stars, sometimes they just get a lot of fullness in the middle, because they're not the easiest things in the world to piece, but that's okay, because when you do something like this, you can really flatten it out and just make it just look so wonderful. Now we're just going to move over to the side border. I just want to show you a little bit of what I'm going to do out there in that side border. This is a very simple design, but it's very dramatic. I'm just going to start with a little bit of a swirl in the middle, like this. And I'm not going from side to side. I'm leaving probably about a ½ inch on each side of that swirl. And I would just continue to do this little swirl all the way around. You can see how easy that is. But then, when I was finished, I would come back and I would echo. And I really want to echo twice on both sides. It kind of reflects the curly attitude that we just put in the middle of the star, which I love. I love to continue to bring a theme out that I've got somewhere else on the quilt. So you can see how pretty that would look, and it just kind of combines the whole thing and the whole effect. This is a lovely, lovely project, one that I hope you'll try. Next time on Linda's Longarm Quilting, we're working on quilts with hearts, all kinds of different hearts. Shelley Zacharias shows us some great gadgets for border designs, and we'll talk about building relationships between Longarm quilters and customers. Remember, if I can do it, you can do it. See you next time. I'm having so much fun with my new Gamble Vision 2. I have customized my right handle to the start and stop, and my tie-off feature as well. My left handle has not only the needle position, so I can have my needle start and stop down, but also my stitch button, which toggles between stitch modes. This just keeps getting better and better as I envision more possibilities in my quilting applications. Being able to customize the 4 buttons on the handles has given my creativity wings. My stitch, my vision, my Gamble.